Spotify playlists have become a huge part of music marketing over the past decade, but I haven't seen anyone talk about the more questionable aspects with this form of marketing, specifically when it comes to these Spotify music promotion agencies. So if you didn't know, it's actually against Spotify's terms of service to directly accept a bribe to play someone's music on your playlist. And it's also against their terms of service to bribe someone to put your music on their playlist. Yet so many of these Spotify marketing agencies claim that they can guarantee you a certain number of playlist followers or placements that they can actually get you on. And the way that they get around this is that they don't directly say that you can pay to get on a playlist. They say you're paying for us to pitch your music to those playlists, just like you might cold email someone who owns a playlist and say, hey, I just came out with a new song, would you like to hear it? It might make a good fit for your playlist. They're claiming that they're doing the same thing. Now, I'm sure plenty of companies are actually doing that, but based on what I've seen and what I've read online, I have a suspicion that a lot of these companies are just people, and these people know other people who are in the same industry, and they have a certain network of playlists between each of them. So they accept money to pitch your music to these playlists, and they go to their network of friends and say, hey, I will give you 10% of this cost that was paid to me if you place this song on your playlist. And in return, when you have a song, we can do the same deal for my playlists. So you have this large network of playlists. Your friends have their own large networks of playlists. You each have your own genres, and when you get music submitted to you, you all kind of share the resources in terms of songs that can get placed, and you kind of split this money based on a number of followers. Now, this practice would indeed be against Spotify's terms of service, but it all happens behind closed doors, and there's no way of policing it whatsoever. So it's not that much of a leap to think that this is actually what they're doing, even though I don't have any proof that this is what these companies are doing. Now, before we get too into the details of this shady industry, I want to give you some context on why I don't even think that Spotify playlist promotion by itself is a good method of marketing your music in 2020 or whatever year you're watching this in. Now, a little disclaimer, this is coming from the perspective of a smaller artist like myself. If you're a bigger artist, it might make sense to be able to grow your streams by a certain percentage to compete in charts and stuff like that. This is for the perspective of a smaller artist who's trying to grow a following, get an algorithmic playlist, get on legitimate Spotify editorial playlists, and just get more followers and fans of your music. So in 2019, I spent a couple $1,000s in playlist promotions, and I also spent a couple $1,000s in direct advertising promotion in terms of like Facebook ads, Instagram ads, story ads, and other social media platforms, mainly in the Facebook network. And I found something really interesting just in the end of the year. I started tracking my data a little more manually and myself, because you can't actually track engagement of songs over time, which, if you didn't know, is one of the key characteristics that Spotify uses to determine whether to place your song on an algorithmic playlist. So if you look at this data that I tracked from my song The Hunt at the end of the year, all of these numbers are from playlist promotions that happened months before. So it's still getting listeners and saves because not all Spotify placements are bad. That's not what I'm trying to say in this, but it's still getting that data. But if you look at this engagement number here, you'll see that the save ratio is only about 3%, which is pretty bad. It's very unlikely that if that continued, although even if it was like 100,000 streams, that Spotify is going to think this is a good song that needs to get pushed to more people, because the data isn't even coming from off platform. It's just building momentum on playlists. So after about a week of running $10 a day on Instagram story ads, you can see that the data tells a very different story. So before it was about 3% save ratio, and now it's up to 10% save ratio. So in terms of actual engagement, which we know is one of the most important factors that Spotify looks for, direct advertisement does much better. And this makes sense, because if you're on a playlist, there's no guarantee you're on the right playlist for your song. They're just kind of throwing it on whatever they have available that's the closest, and these artists might not necessarily match with your music, so the engagement's going to be low. Now, this story continues if we look at other metrics like streams per listeners. So this is like the number of times a listener actually listened to your track. And this went up by 10% by running those Facebook ads. Keep in mind that the playlist promotion is still going on. So if this was just Facebook data alone, the save ratio and the stream per listener ratio would be higher because the playlist data is still skewing the data. So if you look at the other data that I recorded, number of playlists was the same, but the percent of streams from your profile, which is directly on your page, and listeners' own playlist increased. And this is very good for long-term growth in terms of the user playlist, because that means people are adding the song to their own playlist, which is another metric Spotify uses to feed the algorithms. So I kept this ad running for about another week and kept tabulating the data, and the engagement rate went down a little bit, but overall it was still much better, about triple from just the playlist promotion. The streams per listener continued to rise, which was fantastic, and the number of playlists went up by almost 50%, which is amazing. Now the your profile and listeners' own playlist also went up. So these metrics show that Facebook advertisement or Instagram or whatever in direct advertisement you use is much more effective at getting actual listeners. And in addition to this, my Instagram numbers, because I was running this as an Instagram story ad, went up, I don't know, maybe like 5% number of followers. So I gained a couple dozen followers. And then also my Spotify followers went up by about, I think, 10 people over the course of this. So those are just little bonus icings on the cake. If I was sending people directly to my profile instead of directly to the song, this could have gone up in terms of followers, but I was really focused on listeners and engagement for this ad campaign. So another thing to consider is that Spotify is in the interest of getting people on their platform and staying there as much as possible. So when you're sending a bunch of people from somewhere else to Spotify, that's one signal Spotify uses to think this person has an engaged audience, and we want to find more of those people that will like this. If you're just picking up numbers in a playlist, you're not helping Spotify at all. So why should they help you? So that's another way to think about it, that if you're sending people from someplace to Spotify, it's a lot better, it's a much better indicator than if you're just generating streams on the platform, because it just looks weirder from their perspective and it doesn't help them. So now let's get into some of the more shady aspects of Spotify playlist promotions. Now, I'm not going to name any companies or websites because I don't want to throw people under the bus or assume incorrect things about any individual or company. That's just bad practice, and I'm not really trying to shame anyone here. So I'm going to blur out anything that identifies anyone. So in this example here and the next couple examples, this was done through the blog promotion thing through Hyped It. So Hyped It is a great platform. They do have a blog placement thing, and I've gotten some genuine, reach out to someone and they add me to their playlist, and that's great. But there's some examples here that I want to show you. So basically you submit your song for review, and if they like it, they can add it. But I found that a good percentage of them would send a reply similar to this. Hey, congratulations, I will happily promote your track. Please click the following link and make sure you add the Spotify or SoundCloud URL into the notes. And they give me a PayPal link. And then they list a price matrix for SoundCloud promotion. And they also say that they charge 60, is that euros or pounds, per 5,000 plays. All plays will be real and generated by listeners in playlists. And then they also say that they have other playlist types, or they have other promotion methods, and we can contact them to discuss a price. So they're saying they'll happily promote the track, but then they're asking for a direct bribe. Now this next example is just as sketchy. In fact, it might even be a little more sketchy. Hi, congrats, your track's been validated. We are happy to support you. Your track will be shared within the next 72 hours after we receive the donation. Please use this PayPal link. Please provide your link for your track again and PayPal communication by sending the donation. You've read the agreement, in terms of service kind of thing, blah, blah, blah. So to hide the fact that they're accepting a bribe, which is against Spotify's terms of service, they're calling it a donation. Just like you might go to an animal shelter and adopt or give up your animal, they don't charge you. They request a donation. Now, that's a good thing, because that means like a homeless person who can't care for their dog can give them to the shelter and they'll take care of it for free. But if you have money, you should pay it, or you're a jerk kind of thing. This is different. This is saying that we want to accept money, but we don't want to call it accepting money, but you have to pay it. So donate, or else, or we won't place your music. So it's a bribe. They're just calling it a donation, which is just super, super sketchy. And then this last one I'm going to show, at least from Hyped It, is a similar story. Your track has been validated. Actually, is this the same freaking... This is the same message from 2 different playlist owners. So I have a feeling that in this case, it's the same company or person running both of these playlists or both of these companies, which, I guess that kind of confirms one aspect of the theory that all these people are just in a pool, or a couple people are owning all these different companies. Now I want to highlight one more, because this one was a direct email and not through like a service. And this one, it's going to be hard to blur everything out, but I found a link in their Spotify playlist, and I just emailed them saying, hey, I have a new track. Would you be interested in adding to your playlist? I think it really fits the vibe. And they responded saying that they have this network. They can deliver 100,000 streams per month. They charge or trade with other curators, and they charge $60 per 10,000 streams reached through our playlist, which can be delivered within a couple days, or can be delivered over a longer period. So then they list their playlist, and then they say that we're able to organically grow Instagram accounts by location. They can bring in 2,500 active followers per month, which will engage with the account and become actual fans, which sounds like just a bot farm kind of thing. They also say that they are very experienced with YouTube ads, and they can use their in-house marketing to get 1,000 views for about $4 to $7. This part sounds legit because that is about what it costs to run YouTube ads. Now, I have a feeling that they're not running YouTube ads, and they would just be going around and getting bots. But, whatever. So, directly asking for a bribe, and even kind of giving us insight into how this whole system works, which is what I said at the beginning. So of course, one of the methods that these playlist owners can create a following for their playlists is just to use bots. But a lot of them aren't doing that. A lot of them are actually running advertisements, direct ads, on like Instagram stories, inviting people over to check out their playlist and maybe follow it, which is completely legitimate. But if you think about it, people are probably paying up to 50 cents per playlist follower. So why would they spend, let's say, hundreds or thousands of dollars getting to like a several thousand follower playlist with no return? So like, how do they make money on it? Obviously, they have to have a way to make money on it, and they make money on it from you, the artist. They're creating a network of playlists with an upfront investment to later milk you for even more money down the road. Now, it would be a disingenuous for me to assume that everyone is doing bad things with this platform. There's nothing wrong with requesting a application fee to listen to your music, because it's a lot of work to listen to hundreds of songs a day, decide what's good, decide what's going to fit in your playlist, and they should be compensated for doing that kind of service in the first place if they grew their following genuinely. So not all of them are bad, but some of them are indeed bad. It is a little better to grow an organic following and then trade with people for these kind of plays. It's still sketchy, but it's a lot better than bots, because if someone's using bots, then one, they're hurting the artist because they're getting horrible engagement on their songs, and it's all fake data, which can get them banned. And then next, I heard Spotify, which is not even a profitable company yet. They're still often running at a loss. So us artists depend on Spotify and these other platforms to get people to hear our music. So if these companies go away because of essentially companies milking their profits, it's going to hurt us in the long term. One example of how Spotify placements can actually be good, one great company that I've worked with several times is Omari MC. I've done a bunch of campaigns with them, and the engagement's been higher than normal. Now, I can't say what they're doing behind the scenes. I've heard other artists recommend them. Not an endorsement or anything, just to be sure. I'm not even going to put a link in the description because I don't want to make it sound like I'm getting paid by them or anything. But the data that I've seen here, this is 100% placements through them. It's started off at about 4% engagement, and then after a couple of days, it went up to like 10% engagement. Good amount of extra playlist additions and good amount of repeat listens. Not as good as the direct advertisement, but still pretty good. And in my band Day 4, we used them for a couple songs, and one of them actually ended up getting on Discover Weekly and generating like, I think, tens of thousands of streams. Yeah, I just checked. So 75,000 streams, and a lot of that was from Discover Weekly. In fact, 44% was from algorithmic playlists. Now, we did mix in Facebook ads. When we were initially setting up the marketing, I allocated like 30 to 50% of the budget for placements, and I allocated the rest for Instagram, Facebook ads, stuff like that. And that combination with enough funding got the song to take off in the Spotify algorithm. And Mari MC was a big part of that. So not all these companies are bad. Now, the engagement overall still isn't as good as Facebook ads, which is why my final recommendation is to structure your ads or marketing budget just like I did with that last example. Don't allocate more than like 25 to 40% of your total marketing budget to Spotify playlist promotion companies. It's fine to go and pitch things on your own, submit hubs, stuff like that, but don't allocate more than 25 to 40% at most to these companies, or even just directly pitching in terms of like a $1 per submission submit hub thing. And then use the rest for direct advertisements either through Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever the hottest thing is at the moment. And then the battle comes between how you make a great ad. And then you get to target people with like a laser focus. What artists do they like? What platform are they on? How old are they? What gender are they? All that stuff that you don't have any control over with playlist placements. So I think that just about does it. Make sure to subscribe. I upload videos every single Tuesday and Friday. Check out this video if you want some help in making your goals for this year. And check out this video if you want some more general music marketing type advice. And thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.